Welcome back to the channel. Today's video is about r/am I the a-hole. First story.
My disabled sister won't be getting my millions of inheritance, AITA? Say am I the a-hole but still show AITA. I, F24, have 4 siblings: Max M31, Lisa F20, Chris M20, Emily, F18. Emily is disabled, and because of that, my parents dedicated themselves 100% to her, leaving the rest of us to fend for ourselves. When Max left for college, I became the main caregiver for my siblings, plus all household chores were my responsibility. I want to make it clear that Emily's disability does not stop her from functioning like any other person, and she doesn't require any assistance or supervision or 24/7 care. However, my parents have always spoiled her rotten, and she is very rude, mean and entitled. My parents raised her with the mentality that her disability means she's allowed to do whatever and everyone needs to bend backwards for her. My grandparents passed away 3 years ago and I inherited everything, approximately $6 million. They were very well off, I know. The reasons I received all of it is because, when my grandparents were sick, Max contacted them after almost 10 years of silence because he wanted to know how much he would receive. I'm NC with him BTW. They were very aware of how my mom treated me and my siblings, and she was disowned. They were very religious, and Lisa came out as bi at 14 and Chris came out as gay at 17. I went NC with my parents after I moved for college, and when Lisa and Chris started college I offered to cover all of their living/educational expenses as long as they do well in school. They gladly accepted. I also helped my BFF Lola F21 start her own business. I haven't spoken to my parents in 6 years. I haven't blocked them. They just never called/texted. This year Emily started college and she burned out all of her college fund in less than 4 months because she is a spoiled brat and bags were more important than rent lol. In addition, she is doing horrible in school because she isn't even attending her classes, and she will most likely be expelled or held back. My mom called me 2 weeks ago to not ask but demand that I do for her the same I do for Lisa and Chris. I said no because growing up I was literally a slave for her and my parents. I'm helping Lisa and Chris because they are the only ones that treated me as family. I ended the call by telling her that for 18 years Emily was their only kid, so now they have no right to demand anything from the kids they practically abandoned. Now I'm getting shit for everyone, except Lisa and Chris, because I'm causing unnecessary drama. I'm causing a rift between Emily and her siblings. Emily will be the only one without a degree. It's not really my money and my grandparents would want me to help her. Then why didn't they leave anything for her? Family is family and I should help my little sister. I don't buy into that crap. It's not her fault that my parents were bad parents to me. True, but she doesn't do anything to change her behavior. She's disabled and it's not okay to discriminate. WTF? I feel like I'm doing the right thing but everyone is telling me I'm not, so AITA? Edit. I received a lot of messages with questions and a few asked in the comments about my sister's disability, so I'm going to answer some questions. What disability does she have? Ike. My parents never told me, and when anyone asked they would get very defensive. Can't Emily get governmental assistance? No, because she doesn't have documentation that attests she is disabled. I remember my parents fighting about taking my sister to different doctors because they all refused to sign that she was disabled. Why doesn't the rest of my family pay for her? Because they are living paycheck to paycheck, because they would spend thousands on buying Emily whatever she wanted. Why can't my parents continue paying? Because Emily's spending problem got worse since she left home and the rest of the family is no longer in the position to give them money. Also, my dad had a work accident a few months ago and he was forced to retire, so now their income has significantly reduced. How can someone spend that much? Simple. She renewed her closet, purchased a very expressive car and just partied until she dropped. For reference, my parents have high-paying jobs and Emily college fund was around $587,000 when I left for college. Did me and my siblings have a college fund? Nope. We all worked our asses off to get scholarships so we can go. And I do have a will in place. If anything happens to me, all the assets will be split equally between Lisa, Chris, Lola and an organization fighting for wildlife. FYI, writing these I'm starting to question if my sister is actually disabled or if it was just what my parents wanted to believe. I mean, if no doctor would declare her disabled, is she really? My family thinks she's disabled because she did learn how to walk until she was 5 and she didn't talk until she was 7. Maybe she was just a slow developer? Update. So funny thing. My favorite uncle called me a couple hours after I made the post to tell me to block my family because they have come up with a plan to get me to pay. He didn't know what the plan was, he just heard a portion of the conversation between my mom and my aunt. And just like he said, my mom called a few minutes later to tell me Emily is pregnant, so I need to help her because if I don't I'm damaging my niece/nephew. I cried with how hard I started laughing and I just told her to F off. I blocked them all. But seriously, fake a pregnancy, Lamau.
Next story.
Am I the a-hole for no longer doing husbandly duties after my girlfriend complains about having to do wifely duties and we aren't married? Plus update. I has a girlfriend who's 23 and we've been together for about 3 years. She has been living in my apartment with me since our 3-month mark because things at her home were very bad and we felt this was a better choice due to me also living fairly close to her university. I pay for everything, whether it's something that benefits the both of us or something that just benefits her. I also have been paying for her university because I make a comfortable amount of money even though I've only been in my career for about 2 years. Anyways, recently, for the past few months, my girlfriend has been under the impression that she shouldn't do anything around the house because that's wifey duties. I ask if she could tidy up around the house since she's free 24/7 because she's on summer break, aside for her part-time that she only works weekends, and she gets upset and says those are wife duties and that she wasn't gonna give me the whole package without a ring. I ask her if she could make me a quick lunch if I'm running late to work, or at least put some ingredients in a grocery bag so I can make it at work, and she gives me the same BS about how that's wife duties. It's even gotten to the point whenever I ask about trying new things when it comes to making love and she says the same things. It just keeps getting annoying. So finally yesterday, when I asked if she could pick up my dry cleaning today because I would be working late, and once again she replied with doing favors like that are for married couples, I lost it. I told her since doing simple tasks were for married couples, then I wouldn't be paying for her next year of university. I wouldn't be funding her activities, letting her use my other car like it's hers, and she would need to start contributing to the house in terms of bills or she can leave, because of course those were things that only husbands did and I was in fact not her husband. This resulted in her getting upset and claimed that I was manipulative and that I shouldn't hold things that I do for her over her head. I didn't care what she had to say and told her that if she wasn't gonna fix her view on helping her partner out with simple tasks, then I wouldn't help her as well. I then told her that I expected contributions for the bills until then, or I would kick her out. Am I the a-hole? Edit. Thank you for all the advice, even the ones calling me stupid, which really opened my eyes, and I really appreciate it. I'm just making this edit because it baffles me how some of you guys are assuming I'm using her for intimacy. I added how the wifey duties thing started affecting our love life whenever I asked to try new things. I don't hold it over her head, I just move on and handle my business. When we had our argument, I didn't once bring up our intimate life but told her she needed to start doing more around the house and stop being, in my eyes, lazy. Also, to be using her for intimacy I would have to actually make love with her all the time. The rare times we do nowadays are on her schedule, and we just do basic things and then go on with our day. Edit. Last edit before I plan to have a talk with my girlfriend because she's due to be home from her part-time. I've never wasted her time about marriage. From the beginning of our relationship, I was really transparent on how I wasn't looking to get married until my late 20s or early 30s. From the jump, I've told her if she didn't like that arrangement, then our relationship wouldn't work out, but she was adamant that she was fine with that as well. Yes, I suspect that she's acting this way because she wants me to propose, that I'm very adamant with not wanting to be married so young. I've reminded her several times throughout the years that if she's not like the arrangement and wants to get married, then she can leave and I wouldn't be hurt. Update. So, on Saturday around 6 p.m. I decided to have a conversation with my ex-girlfriend. At first, I wanted to wait until today, but I felt like I just needed to get it done. The intention of this talk was to let her go because I wasn't interested in trying to work things out anymore when it was clear she didn't love or respect me. I also took some advice to record our talk. So, when my ex got back from work, I decided to sit her down and I was upfront with her saying I was unhappy in our current situation. I brought up how I felt used and I was expected to do all these different things for her while I didn't get anything in return. I brought up how I've tried to explain how I felt so many times and at which time she ignored it because she felt like she was always right. I then asked her what made her attitude change, and a lot of you guys were correct. She wanted to get married to me but I wasn't getting the hint, so she decided if she stopped doing things for me then I would realize how much I needed her. I brought up the fact how I told her from the beginning I wasn't interested in getting married so young, and I also told her if she was then our relationship wouldn't work because we were expecting different things. I told her that it would be best if we ended our relationship because this obviously wasn't working for us and I wasn't interested in continuing it. She tried to say that she would change, how she loved me, and how she was being stupid. I was firm and told her that I'm glad she realized how her actions were stupid and maybe she learned her lesson for her next relationship. After I confirmed that I wasn't changing my mind, she literally went crazy. Mind you, I'm still secretly recording. She started screaming how I was a useless piece of shite, how she never loved me, etc. It honestly scared me how she went from calm to a scary lady in a matter of seconds. At this point, she started throwing my stuff at me and even went as far to throw my game station at me, which resulted in it getting smashed when it hit the floor. Like that wasn't enough, she went into the kitchen and started throwing glass plates at me while calling me useless BTCH. At this point, I was pissed and I went into our room and started throwing her shit into a trash bag and threatened to call the police. I didn't even get time to call the police because I guess my neighbors heard all the commotion and called them for me. The police ended up coming to my door and asking about the noise, in which I told them the whole situation and how my ex was being really violent towards me. She tried to play it like I was the one who was in the wrong and maybe he would have believed her if I didn't have the video on my phone. He ended up trying to escort her away from my apartment, but she refused to leave without her stuff, so I had to quickly throw all her shit into trash bags while she waited outside. The cop was kind enough to help because I honestly wanted her away from my home as soon as possible. After all her stuff was collected, she ended up leaving with the cop, and that was about 30 minutes ago. Now I'm staying up really late tonight because she still has the key to the apartment and I'm waiting for the 24-hour locksmith to arrive. Though, I was too stressed about remembering the key to my home, she did forget to take the keys to my other car with her, so I happily have those.
Next story.
My 23F, GF found out I, 22M, was taking one for the team when we first met, and now she's spiraling in insecurity. How do I get her to be confident in my attraction to her again? Using a throwaway, but here's some super long backstory. About 2 years ago I was at a party with a friend of mine who we'll call Josh. Me and Josh were just vibing to the music and chilling when he suddenly spots two girls. The one he was interested in was this pretty blonde while the other was her heavier friend. That's not to say her friend was unattractive, but just a little noticeably bigger than what could be considered average weight. Anyway, Josh turned to me and urged me to be his wingman by taking one for the team and distracting her friend while he chatted with the blonde. After a little back and forth, I decided to just do it to be a good friend. So we made our way over and made our move, where I would go in first and start chatting with the friend while Josh began flirting with the girl he was interested in. Again, this friend I was talking to was by no means unattractive, just a bit heavier than what most guys, myself included at the time, would go for. I thought she was very sweet, even though I was just talking to her out of obligation. It didn't really matter anyway, cause ultimately the girl Josh was into already had a boyfriend apparently and had seemingly brushed him off, with him eventually patting me and on the back to signify I didn't have to chat with her friend anymore. So I decided to politely end the conversation, however, not before she asked for my Instagram, which I decided to give her. I didn't really think much of it at the time, and I was certain I would never see her again. However, a couple days later I ran into the same girl in my school's campus store. I didn't really recognize her at first, but she seemed to know me immediately. We decided to chat for a bit, and I was reminded of her name, Megan, not her real name. Anyway, it was really just small talk until Megan suddenly seemed a little awkward. I asked her if everything was alright and she replied that nothing was wrong, but she wanted to know if I wanted to go out with her sometime. This actually came as a shock to me, as it was the first time a girl had ever made the first move and asked me out. So, even though she wasn't really my type at the time, I said yes, and that was probably the best decision of my life. Me and Megan really hit it off, and before long we were in a serious relationship. Any qualms I had about her weight were gone immediately after the first time we had sex, as I actually found her body to be really soft and comforting. I had never felt so relaxed cuddling with someone before I met her. We've been dating for 2 years now and I absolutely love her. She's my everything, and I have even been thinking of proposing as soon as we are both done with school. Everything was perfect, until last month. Last month, we hosted a small get-together just for a few friends who are also in relationships, like a couple's game night sort of thing. It was here where Josh, who has been my good friend for years now, was pretty drunk, and made a joke about how if he had never forced me to take one for the team back then I would have never found the love of my life. The joke didn't really register to me as anything negative, and I was also drunk, so I just laughed it off. Megan was cuddled up next to me on the couch though, and asked what Josh meant by that. I told her nothing, but Josh, being the drunk idiot that he was, elaborated and told her the story about how we met through my perspective at the time. Megan just said oh, and didn't really react, so I figured she just brushed it off. However, the rest of the night she seemed kind of distant and even a little sad. Finally, once everyone had left, she let it all out and started crying. She was essentially in shock because this whole time she thought I approached her then cause I was interested in her, and learning it was cause I was forced to seem to bring back old insecurity within her. It doesn't help that she's actually gained weight since back then, even though I don't really have any problem with that and have told her that multiple times. I immediately gave her the full story about how I fell for her right after that, and I have loved and adored her ever since. She seemed reassured and we even cuddled the whole night after that. Since that night though, she's been acting differently. It's like she's lost her confidence around me. She only wears large, baggy clothing even though she used to never before. She refuses to change with me in the room and hardly eats in front of me. Before, I used to playfully tickle her stomach sometimes and she'd always smile and play along. Now she seems insecure when I so much as accidentally graze it. She also refuses to have sex without a shirt on. So far I sat her down multiple times and explained that her body is incredibly attractive to me and there's no one more beautiful in my eyes than her. But it's like she doesn't believe me.
Next story.
Am I the a-hole for adopting another baby and telling my daughter to move out if she doesn't like it? I have 2 biological children. Recently we adopted a 2-year-old baby girl. Everyone except my husband is telling me that I made the wrong choice. This all started when one of my close friends had a surprise baby a couple years ago. Every other kid in the friend group is much older, and this new baby is just so sweet. She's so easy too, nothing like my kids as babies. She gave me serious baby fever, and my husband agreed he wanted to have another one. Since I'm already in my 40s, I decided against having one naturally. Adoption was the obvious choice. We brought her home 3 months ago. My children hate their new sister. They've been acting out a lot and are very close since she joined our family. They just can't get along. They would rather hide in their rooms with their cousins and avoid us. My daughter even told me I'm abandoning the family for something new and shiny, but she's just being a moody teenager. I haven't abandoned them at all. They have everything they could ever want. She even threatened to move in with my brother. I told her to go ahead and it shut her up pretty quick, but now she isn't talking to me. My friend who spurred this whole thing told me that I won't be a good mom at this age and just want a baby, not another child. We got into a big argument about it. There's less of an age gap between my kids and the baby versus her kids and new baby. It's just hypocritical coming from someone who had kids as a teenager and barely took care of them. And even if she's right, that's not her call to make. I thought she would be happy her kid has a built-in best friend now. I think my friend and daughter are being ridiculous. We have plenty of resources, so the baby is taken care of. If anyone is abandoning the family, it's the one who wants to leave because we opened our hearts to love another child. Am I the a-hole?
Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe.